Eternals is an interesting case study. It's a movie that's probably one of my least favorite Marvel movies to watch. I've seen it. It's actually one of my most rewatched Marvel movies. I think I've seen it 3 times. But most Marvel movies have issues with multiple things. Take Love and Thunder, which was too jokey, didn't really have great action, and really didn't let the actors speak for themselves, or had a lot of cutscenes as well. Or Iron Man 2, where it was really boring to watch, and the villain kind of sucked, and Tony's journey was mid during that movie. No, Eternals had one issue that led to everything else sucking, and that is that the movie was unfocused. So, most movies, right, you're supposed to have one central point. You're supposed to have a character going through a tribulation, not Eternals. You have like 8 different Eternals, and then you have 3 main Eternals, and those 3 main Eternals go through like a whole journey throughout the movie, and that would have been a good way to take the movie. But then they had to add all these stupid subplots, plus they had to add a second unnecessary villain, and they just tried to cram too many comics into this movie. It's like the director she wasn't trying to create a movie that could be enjoyed for ages. She was trying to create her vision of Eternals. Instead of she was trying to basically take what she thought Eternals was and everything she loved about Eternals and throw it in one movie, which sounds good, but usually these things happen over a trilogy. You don't have them delete the Celestials and the Deviants in one movie. It would have been smarter to have maybe that split up into 2 movies, 3 movies, and that would have been way smarter. They also set up a really stupid post-credit scene, but overall, Eternals is just the most unfocused movie I have ever seen. So yeah, Joshua Martins from my studios, and welcome to Why Eternals Was Overstuffed. If you don't remember the plot of Eternals, let me give you a slight remembrance. So, Eternals is basically about a group of space beings who realize they've created by Celestials to take over planet Earth. At the same time, you have these things called the Deviants, which are their mortal enemies. You then realize the Deviants are actually helping protect Earth by keeping the population low, but this is after the Eternals kill them. They're attacked in London. The Deviants kill a bunch. The Eternals kill a bunch of Deviants. They realize the Celestial's a true bad guy, and they go to kill the Celestial. They end up doing that. They're portrayed by Icarus and a few other members of the team. Then the Deviant comes back for a stupid section, ruins the end of the movie, and they end with a post-credit scene of Thanos' brother helping the Eternals out. So I like the idea of an ending, like a plot twist ending like that, but it's always ruined by the post-credit scene. Some movies just don't need a post-credit scene. Like a big one, a massive movie that didn't need a post-credit scene to me. Eternals is a big one, but so is a movie like Spider-Man No Way Home. So is Doctor Strange is the biggest example of something that kind of, the post-credit scene actually kind of ruined the movie for me. Instead of wondering, oh, what happened to him? Is he going to be okay? No, you have some girl come, and she immediately helps him out with the eye, and there's going to be no trouble in the next movie about him having to figure out that eye and everything. It's going to literally just be, oh, I have control of it now, because they were too lazy to write an ending that would actually lead into a third movie. But yep, off that tangent, Eternals is a really confusing movie. It's extremely overstuffed, and I have a few issues with it. So we'll cover those issues quickly. Just it being overstuffed, alright? We're going to cover the 3 plot points here. Plot point number 1 is we'll talk about the girl wanting to leave. I kind of liked this because at the end of the day, I like a story of an alien who kind of wants to be human. My Avengers with Superman. Just like a Limited. I really like the idea of an alien who tries to be human. It's interesting and it gives this human element. But they didn't dive deep into it. They're trying to do 3 plot points plus character development in a 2.5-hour movie. Her story, I watched this movie 2 or 3 days ago, so I don't really remember anymore. But her story might have lasted probably, I don't know, she got 30 minutes of development in the movie for her journey. Then number 2, the second plot point, is Icarus being evil. And this also links to Celestial, but I'll cover this specifically. I really liked this plot point. This is my favorite plot point in the whole movie. If they had made a movie purely about this, I would have been extremely happy. That family element between Selene or Shaline or whatever and Icarus, it's really, really good. And I really, really enjoyed the plot line, and that was the only part of the movie that I still remember and I still really enjoyed. Plot point number 3 is the plot point about the Celestial. This is also middle of the road. It's a good villain mixed in with the Icarus story. As long as I think they should have spent the movie diving more into the Celestials and Icarus, maybe getting a little more backstory on what the Celestials are. That could have made a top tier Marvel movie. Legitimately, I really loved the Celestial slash the Icarus plotline, and if they had just focused on that, this probably would have been my my top five for Phase 4. But then there's my least favorite plotline in the entire movie, the Deviants. If they had this movie is a 5 out of 10 for me. Legit, it's like a 65 if I had to give it, 63 if I had to give it a score. Both the human plotline and this plotline ruin the movie. If they had just removed the deviant plotline, but even if they kept the human plotline, still would have been probably a 70 for me. But oh my god, this deviant plotline ruins the entire movie. It takes an already crowded movie and it turns on its head by even more by adding more lore and having this bad guy, by the way, this bad guy who the Eternals had a lot of trouble beating and killed multiple Eternals. One, he's only in the movie for him. Not even the Deviants are in the movie for roughly, like maybe roughly. If I had to put a time on the time the Deviants are in the movie, it's probably half an hour, 45 minutes. This smarter Deviant is literally in the movie for about 10 minutes. It's actually ridiculous. It feels like they shoved him in to just set up a sequel, which I think Marvel's had a massive problem with recently. But, like, I just didn't. The plot lines were crazy in this movie. There were 4 of them, and they just needed to cut it down. Next is the characters, right? So, I didn't like the girl. Sprite is her name. Sprite was the human journey, but her journey just didn't make sense to me. I get it. She wanted to live as a human, and she wanted to do this and that. But I just didn't resonate with that message. Again, each plotline in this movie needed more time to bake. And I think if they had given this movie a trilogy, they could have legitimately fleshed the storyline out. And it could have been great. But they just had to shove it into one movie. Then there's Cersei and Icarus' journey, which is probably, like I said earlier, is probably the most fleshed out plotline. It seems like what they were focusing on during the movie. It gets a solid 7 from me. It's legitimately decent. The relationship, although it makes no sense at certain times, like I said, it has the foundation of a decent relationship in the movie, but they have to take it further, and the movie it needed more time. If they wanted to add all these plot lines into one movie, it would have had to been a 4 or 5 hour movie, legit. But no, they had to take it and they had to add all these plot lines into a single movie, and it sort of sucks because especially this whole Cersei and Icarus, this could have legitimately been a pretty good movie on its own. And then there's all the other Eternals. They're all forgettable. But I didn't like a few things about them specifically. I liked the comedy relief. Pretty fun to watch him just be funny. That's another strong suit of the movie. I didn't like how they tried to shoehorn wokeness into a movie. I'm not like a rage bait person. I don't mind representation in movies, but when you try to like specifically spend 5 minutes making a point on it, it sort of gets annoying. That's the whole reason I really don't like Captain Marvel as a film, because they shove this girl power in your face. And yeah, we know women are powerful enough. Why not just make that a character and use that character to show and not tell us how powerful she is? I really don't mind representation in movies. I just have a problem when you try to shove it in my face and tell me how I need to, I need to praise this movie for having diversity. And they shove it in your face for 5 to 6 minutes, and it's incredibly annoying. But one thing I will say about the storyline is I kind of liked the idea of him making atomic bombs and then him getting a family. That was a pretty cool plotline. Like, legitimately, there are fragments of this movie that have a really good point and that could have been expanded on. So, yeah, I've talked about all the contingents and why I don't like this movie. Let's talk about how I would have handled Eternals. First of all, this movie is extremely overstuffed, and I've been talking about that the entire time. So I actually want to split this movie up into a trilogy. But first, what are we cutting? We're cutting we're basically going to split this up into a storyline. The first movie is going to be mainly about Cersei and Icarus. I'm going to have them, that's basically the same plotline from the movie, although I'm not going to have the Celestial come out yet, and I'm going to have the Deviant actually be the bad guy of this movie. So rather than having for an hour and a half focus on the Celestials and then 45 minutes focus on the Deviant, I'm going to make a full 2.5 hour movie that focuses on the Deviant, and then, you know what I mean? Pretty good. And I would have ended the movie probably with the Deviant still being alive, being more powerful now, powerful enough to take out a Celestial. Then the second movie would have been probably Sprite would have started to realize she wanted to be human. She would have, and we also would have had the We also would have had the what do you call it? We would have had a few other plot lines, but the family plot line would have been a big one. If the first movie focused on Icarus and Cersei, I want the second movie to focus on Fat Toast and Sprite and just their journeys on feeling human. And that would have been the first movie would have been about love. The second movie would have been about human emotions. And I would have had the villain. I don't really know what the villain would have been for this movie. I would have done either a powered up deviant or I would have done a Celestial. I think the Celestial is the way I would have gone. And then for a third movie, I would have done the second movie had the whole granite thing and then freezing the Celestial. I would have had the third movie end with Sprite turning human and the guy going back to fat or whatever, going back to his family. And the villain of the third movie probably would have been a powered up deviant that I was talking about from earlier. He would have been a part of the second movie, and then he would have been a main villain for the third movie. So this isn't like a fleshed out. I spent literally 50 seconds talking about this, I think, because this isn't supposed to be a fleshed out trilogy. This is just supposed to be about the basic outline would have done. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the director of Eternals did a brilliant job directing it. The visuals are great in this movie, and it's overall pleasing to the eye. But I'm not a CGI person. I hate to say this, but I don't care for CGI. The only time CGI has ever bothered me was The Flash and the ending of Black Widow. Those are kind of like literally sword of the eye. But if CGI is just bad, like a good example is Spider-Man No Way Home. There were certain shots that were bad, but it was a mostly good movie. I'm okay with that. I don't mind that. I won't even complain. Overall, I think Eternals was just super overstuffed, and I really hope that she can do a better job with the second movie. Because Marvel's starting to get moving again, and they're starting to rework the structure. According to leaks, there's both She-Hulk Season 2, which, my god, why are they making She-Hulk Season 2? And there's apparently Eternals 2 is in the works. And Eternals 2 is starting development as of recently, after the writer's strike. Honestly, if she simplifies the plot, I think the second movie is gonna be very complicated. I can already tell. She's gonna have 2 different plot lines, bare minimum. She's gonna have the whole Celestial capturing them, and they're gonna have the Thanos brother, which I think she didn't learn a lesson setting up she didn't learn a lesson. She set up 2 plot lines again. A side plot line is okay. Avatar did Zuko extremely well, to the point where he's not even a side character. To me, he's the second main character of Avatar. But that's a show. That's a show that has, I think the show has 40, like, literally 58 episodes. Of course, it's gonna flesh out its character. Actually, it has 60 episodes total. That's why if you count the ending as 2 episodes, which I don't, because that's like 3 or 4 episodes technically. It's an hour and a half. It's 20, 40, 60. It technically counts as 5 episodes. So it technically would have had about 63 episodes total. And I just, like, that show was able to flesh it out so well. I'd love to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender one day. I'm currently in the middle of Season 3, rewatching it. I'm going to rewatch Korra as well. But yeah, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and check out another video. If you like this video, check out my Amazing Spider-Man video, which will be on the end card. Yeah, stay electric.